Will looked amazing. He was shredded. Could he diet a bit longer if he wanted to be the leanest guy in the world? Of course he would have to. But should he? I don't think so. I don't want the message to be that if you're a natural bodybuilder and you don't have cross-straighted glutes like that guy, that you shouldn't deserve to be competing. Coach Greg, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Will Tennyson and whether or not he was lean enough for his last bodybuilding competition. Now, myself and TNF were in complete disagreement. I see it one way, that Will was shredded, while he sees it another, that Will had to diet for another 2, 4, perhaps even 6 weeks in order to be truly ready.
But if there is one critique that I'm going to make, I do believe that he potentially may have slightly spilled over.
He posts what I'm saying, that Will was shredded, that perhaps he missed his peak by carbing up too much and spilling over, but he immediately disagrees.
To, in the same breath, say that Will didn't need to diet more, and then say, now he might have spilled over. That means that you're seeing the fact that he was not conditioned enough.
And so, no, you can actually be peeled and be ready for competition and not require 2, 4, or even 6 weeks of extra dieting because you overcarbed and spilled over. Sometimes things happen beyond your control. For example, you don't get a proper tan and you show up, and despite the fact that you're shredded, you can't display exactly what you've built. And so I posted on Instagram, I posted myself, who's a national champion, drug tested, also world natural bodybuilding overall champion, and professional natural overall champion. One of the best natural bodybuilders in the world. Remember, this is years ago, not now, not HRT, none of that. This is when I was natural. And so I compared my physique to Will's. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to brag, but my physique was better than Will's. We're the same body weight and I'm 6 inches shorter. I had great muscle bellies. I have great genetics. But Will was peeled. Some of his body parts were, in fact, leaner than mine. I did 42 shows natural. Will did 1. And not only that, I wanted to show you Will versus Sam Sulek. Sam Sulek was peeled. And if we see Will against Sam, some of Will's body parts actually looked even better. And so Sam, who in his first competition, he was having a problem in properly displaying his legs. We all talked about it. And his next competition, he was immediately improved. It's not from dieting harder. Sam was already shredded. It was from posing better. And so I wanted to come to the bottom of things. And so I asked Will about the conditioning of his quads, and his response, the photos circulating about my quads were photos when I wasn't activating them. I had such a hard time keeping them in. And this is the exact feedback that the judges gave him. Does that not sound familiar? Sam Sulek had the exact same thing. And for both of these individuals, it was their very first competition. Now, I know we're comparing Sam Sulek, who's probably not natural, to Will, who is natural, but they both had trouble flexing their legs. And so being a coach myself, I asked him the following. Any cramps? Sam had the same thing at his first show. Will's response? Tons. And so I said, yes, when you're cramping, it's almost impossible to flex properly. Will responded by saying, when I was doing side tricep backstage, I was getting crazy cramps in my ribs. This is very common amongst competitors. And so remember, the stage photos don't always have the best lighting. And so we not only have Will on stage, we have him backstage, we have him outside, all kinds of different lighting. And remember, I also saw him in person with my eyes. And I'm telling you, Will in no way should have to continue to diet for 4 to 6 weeks in order to be amazing. He literally won the show and is a natural pro. Now, are there natural pros in the world that can beat him? Of course there are. I'm not trying to say that Will Tennyson is going to enter some kind of a professional competition and win the world championships. There are guys with far better genetics than Will, and even if they're natural, will be both leaner and bigger.
You can't reconcile these two thoughts. Like, you understand if he goes to a WMBF pro show, he can see conditioning like this.
Yeah, and even I, with performance-enhancing drugs for 10 plus years, never had my glutes dug in like that. I had 4.5% body fat, was arguably one of the leanest guys on the professional IFBB stage, and I wasn't that lean. And so just because one or two guys in the world on a natural stage are shredded like this doesn't mean that Will should also have to try to do that. If he does, Will's going to lose 20 pounds of muscle. Every single week that Will continues to diet, he perhaps will lose 0.1 pound of fat and 2 pounds of muscle. If you're not eating enough calories to sustain your muscles, they're going to continue to get smaller, and eventually you have to call it quits. I know we want to be shredded. We want to have strided glutes like no other. But there's a difference between over-dieting and dieting effectively. Will was cutting it close. In my opinion, perhaps he dieted a little bit too long. 200 days, that's a lot. And 1,950 calories towards the end, that's slightly less calories than I would have liked to have seen him on. But he brought it and he nailed it. And aside from his legs, Will was peeled. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Will, it's certainly his back. But he doesn't need to diet for a month or more in order to look shredded. What message does that give to the world? To all the natural bodybuilders out there, the millions of fans, they're seeing Will win his natural pro card and thinking, maybe I can do this. Maybe I could also do it while being natural. And if you tell these people Will was a month out, that he didn't diet hard enough, that he should have gotten leaner. All the people watching are thinking, if Will isn't lean enough with that back, with that Christmas tree, with those pec striations, what chance do I have? And so I don't want to turn bodybuilding into an emaciation competition of which we try to see who can shut down their natural production of testosterone the most. Who can compete under 130 pounds? You know who did that? Editor Steve competed at the drug-tested national championships in 2000, weighed in 128 pounds. He's 5'6" like Coach Greg. He was 146 pounds in his previous competition, and the judges said, you're not quite lean enough. Need to diet a little bit more. Stevie took that to heart, dieted off an additional 18 pounds. Do you think it was 18 pounds of fat? It was probably a couple pounds of fat. The rest was muscle. And so if you just keep on dieting, yeah, it's calories in, calories out. When you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight, but it's not guaranteed it's going to be body fat. And if you keep dieting, eventually it's going to be muscle. And so for his very first competition, Will was more than lean enough. He literally could have been to the competition dieting 4 weeks less. And so if TNF was coaching him, he would have had him diet for 4 weeks more. If I would have been coaching him, I would have said to diet 4 weeks less. In either scenario, Will would have won. Would he have been as shredded as TNF coached him? Nope. But he would have been 10 pounds bigger. And so if TNF were coaching Will, he would have won the show. He would have been leaner. But he probably would have weighed 165 pounds. Now, if Coach Greg were coaching him, he would have been slightly less shredded and probably 180 pounds. Either physique is amazing, but why go through 8 additional weeks of dieting in order to get even more shredded when you don't need to? To lose all that muscle, perhaps an entire year, maybe even 2 years of training, to lose all that muscle for one single competition.
Yes, he could diet down further and get leaner, and it not be all about losing muscle.
It would be about losing muscle. And so TNF, perhaps he forgets that he has exquisite genetics. TNF, he gets peeled. Sometimes when you're able to do it, you assume that others can do as you do. It doesn't always work like that. Now, TNF, he knows what he's doing. I also believe that I know what I'm doing, but I also recognize that not everyone has my genetics, nor TNF genetics, nor Will Tennyson's genetics. And if you diet for too long and try to get overly shredded and you're natural, oftentimes you're going to get a stringy appearance and lose a lot of muscle.
And as far as the 4.8% skin caliper thing, what do you think a person like this is? Like, -5?
Probably 3%. Remember, 4.8% from Will Tennyson's test was a skin full caliper test. My laser eye says he's probably closer to 6% body fat. The in-body exam, I believe it said he was 3.1% body fat. And y'all remember Ronnie Coleman's body fat percentage? It was negative 0.33%.
0.33 was dipped underwater.
And so, yeah, there's some error. Do y'all watch Jeff Nippard's newest video? His brother put on 12.7 pounds of muscle in the first month. And over the next half a year, he didn't put on any muscle and actually lost some. That was with a DEXA scan. And so do you think he actually put 12.7 pounds of muscle in a month? Or do you think maybe the DEXA scan made a mistake? People make errors. But the thickness of the skin on Will's body, on the back, the bicep, the tricep, the stomach, it was thinner than last time.
And if you want to say it's good, then you at least have to acknowledge that there must have been some pretty heavy user error there, because this is not 4.8%.
You're literally showing Will standing and flexing with his legs relaxed. I have 8.1% body fat. Let's compare how I can look if I was cramping and unable to flex, perhaps spilled over, versus if I'm not. And so let's first look at, hey, I'm cramping and I'm spilled over. Oh, but what if I'm not cramping? What if I don't spill over? Any questions?
But to act like he doesn't need additional conditioning to compete at the top level pro natural bodybuilding?
Did I say that Will could win the pro natural bodybuilding title? I didn't say he could win, but I said he shredded. I said he perhaps spilled over, and I later found out that he was experiencing some cramping, which is very common. I then compared him to myself, world professional champion bodybuilder. Now, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying it that if you compare myself to Will, with which I did on my wall, how does Will stack up? Now, I'm thinking most people are going to say, Coach Greg, you're still beating Will. But look at Will's legs in comparison to mine. They are in fact bigger. And are my legs cross-straight ever? Or do I have cross-straighted glutes? Even when I was a professional, on steroids, I might add. Glutes never look like that. And for example, some guys, Johnny Shreve, for example, he gets striated glutes very easily. His glutes are peeled, shredded, but yet he still has 5 additional pounds to lose in his quads. He gets leaner glutes than he does in his legs. Me, I'm the opposite. I could stand on stage right now, hamstrings better than many of the professional bodybuilders. But my glutes, they're not ready. Will, his body type, his upper body gets shredded very easily. He carries more of his fat in his legs, and that's okay. You don't have to compete at 3% body fat, as which was shown here by TNF, in order to compete at a professional bodybuilding competition.
Have you been to a natural pro bodybuilding show recently?
No, not recently, but I won them previously. Yeah, I won it. Literally. First place overall. Amateur and professional.
Like maybe back in the 80s you could get away with this kind of conditioning.
Hey, I'm not that old. I was born in the 70s. I was competing in pro bodybuilding in the 2000s.
I get sent videos every single day of guys just striated out of their minds, shredded glutes on natural bodybuilding.
Yeah, and half of them are probably not even natural. Just because they're competing in a natural bodybuilding competition don't mean that they're actually natural. Now, are they natural on the day of the competition? I certainly hope so, but many of them are not lifetime natural. Uncommon for Greg to be wrong about these things. I generally always thought he had a good eye for this stuff. What did I just say? Will was likely spilling over. He carved up for 3 or 4 days. When I coach my clients, I get them to carb up for 1 day. I don't believe it takes 3 or 4 days for muscle glycogen stores to be replenished. I simply don't believe that to be true. Now remember, there are several ways to peak for a competition. I believe my way has less room for error. It's easier to guarantee that you're going to look your best on stage. I don't know what else to tell you. Will looked amazing. He was shredded. Could he diet a bit longer if he wanted to be the leanest guy in the world? Of course he would have to. But should he? I don't think so. I don't want the message to be that if you're a natural bodybuilder and you don't have cross-straighted glutes like that guy, that you shouldn't deserve to be competing. TNF is just saying, if Will wants to win a professional bodybuilding competition, he's going to have to diet a lot harder. Yeah, well, even if he did that, it's not going to work. If Will diets a lot harder, 4 to 6 weeks, and gets glutes as shredded as that man, he's going to weigh 155 pounds. Will at 6 foot, 155, ain't winning no professional natural bodybuilding competition. Now, when I won my natural professional overall, I weighed about 170. Could I have been leaner? Way leaner. Compared to how lean I got as a pro, I was significantly leaner when I was on steroids. But I still won. It's not a whoever can suffer and diet the most competition. It's a bodybuilding competition. And in bodybuilding competition, it's a combination of size, shape, and conditioning. It's not just conditioning. You need all three. And so if you diet too hard and you sacrifice all your size and also your shape from trying to get too shredded, well, there goes the victory. And so it's a delicate balance of everything. Will was as lean as he needs to be to win the competition easily, handedly, and he could have showed up with even more body fat and still been the victor. And so you can see, Will, the day before the competition, his legs looked significantly leaner than he did on stage. Likely because he wasn't cramping. You can see myself with the proper tan. Will's tan, I don't believe it was actually dark enough. But if you're looking at our legs, I do believe that Will's conditioning is better than mine. And remember, I was the overall drug-tested national champion, and this is the IFBB. There was about 100 guys in this competition. It wasn't a small show. Not only did I win my weight class, I won the overall. I was weighing about 170 pounds. And from the rear, Will Tennyson's back is leaner than mine. Now, my hamstrings, granted, are better than Will's and leaner. That is my strength, my forte. Now, you cannot see my glutes here, but Will's glutes are leaner than mine. Now, I have more size and width, V shape, than Will does, but I'm 5'6", 170. Will is 6 feet tall, 177. But you can see, Will has the detail. And what about Sam Sulek from the rear? And remember, Sam Sulek shortly after this, he won his IFBB Pro card. I would have to say that Will looks leaner than Sam, at least in his back. And so if Will had to diet still 4 to 6 more weeks in order to be shredded, well, how is it that Sam won a pro card untested if Will is that far off? Will's back seems to be leaner than Sam Sulek. Now, Sam clearly is thicker, but if you're looking at the glutes and the hamstrings, Will is very similar to Sam Sulek. And so I rest my case. And let me look at the poll. 58% said Will is shredded. 17% said Will holding up even with Sam and Greg, both of which became IFBB pros. And only 4% said Will needs to diet harder. And so 1 out of 25 people feel that no, Will, he should have dieted a little bit more. Remember, TNF said 2 or perhaps 4, maybe even up to 6 weeks of extra dieting. 4% believe that Will needs to keep dieting. And 20% of the audience said that I'm gregging my Sulek to Tennyson. And so someone asked, why are you comparing Will to an assisted bodybuilder? And so I'm glad that people actually agree with me. I had 1,000 likes on this. I responded. To show you that even the wheel is natural, he looks amazing. I'm glad that people can read through my misspellings of everything. Of course, I meant to say, to show you that even Will... I meant to say, to show you that even though Will Tennyson is natural, that he still looks amazing. Isn't Will's physique, like, phenomenal for daddy? Yes! This is the point. And so what I don't want people to take home from TNF is that somehow Will isn't really good enough, that he should have dieted a month more. Will's physique is phenomenal. He won not only his weight class, the overall. He turned pro natural. What more do we want from him? He has to have freaking strided glutes to get up on stage. This is not the message I want for people who are natural. You don't need strided glutes to get up on a natural bodybuilding stage. Will is going to start getting not natty accusations. And so you're damned if you do, damned if you won't. If Will Tennyson shows up with strided glutes like that other natural guy, everyone's going to be saying, oh, Will Tennyson is just pretending to use Turk Builder Max, but is actually on steroids. Will looks amazing. Far exceeded both mine and I do believe most people's expectations. I think other than TNF. TNF is like, nope, if you don't got strided glutes, you got to diet 4 to 6 weeks longer. I don't think this is true. TNF can do it. He's coached guys that can do it, but I do believe that these guys just have the craziest genetics in the world. If your genetics are just top tier, then perhaps you can get glutes shredded like that. I wasn't like that. I always carried more body fat. Yeah, you see Coach Greg now, you say, hey, you're so lean, it must be easy. I ride my bike harder than probably 99.9% of the world. 7 minutes after I walked into my house, I was on a Zwift bike race of which I won. And then during the final minute, I had 740 watts for a minute to take the lead. How many of you can do that? Perhaps Mitchell Hooper, who managed to put out over 5,000 watts for 0.01 of a second. but I don't think anyone else can put out that kind of watts who makes YouTube videos. I found the secret. It's cardio. That's the secret to being lean. You don't believe me? You don't need to believe me. Another secret, of which I'm currently not using, I don't need it, I do to cardio, GLP Max. GO2 Max, Will says is even better than Turk Builder Max. When he went from 1 pill a day to 3, he says he felt it that much more. And so guys, the T-Plug stack, it's legit, money back guarantee, and a $20 gift card. And so what are you waiting? Code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description, and we're probably sold out, and so go on that VIP list and get notified immediately as soon as it's back in stock. The last drop, we sold out 46 minutes after we went live, but if you're on the VIP list, you get 3 hours to order it before it goes live. Also, back in stock, half price forever. It's $20. 12-pack of Seagull bars, best tasting bars in the world, 230 calories and 20 grams of protein. And looking for one of, if not the best coaches in the world, Coach Greg. It's literally in the name. If you want to apply to be coached by myself and my team, this includes going over your blood work, recommendations, weekly check-ins, the nutrition, the training, everything. Apply by clicking the link in the description. And for all things cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, all of this stuff, Code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. Subscribe. Did you click the subscribe button yet? Also, don't forget to click one of those 2 bloops. And until next time, I am out.